Welcome. Welcome to the video series on ISO 9001-2015 provided by Advanced Innovation Group. I hope you've taken out time to view the other ISO 9001-2015 videos that have been added. Now we are looking at clause number 8.4, control of externally provided processes, products and services. Like always, let's start by reading the clause. 8.4.1 General. The organization shall ensure that externally provided processes, products and services conform to the requirements. The organization shall determine the controls to be applied to externally provided processes, products and services when A. Product and services from external providers are intended for incorporation into organization's own product and services. B. Product and services are provided directly to the customers by external providers on behalf of the organization. C. A process or part of the process is provided by the external provider as a result of decision by the organization. Clause number 8.4 is about the traditional vendor management that we understand. So if you have used externally provided processes, product or services, condition 1, product and services from external providers are intended for incorporation into organization's own product or service. So if you use some external provider, a vendor, to create some product or service that is to be incorporated to the organization's own product. So as a car manufacturer, I manufacture cars, but seats are not manufactured by me. As an organization, we have hired an external provider to make those seats for us, and such seats are incorporated as a part of our product or service. Condition 2, product or service are provided directly to the customer. So your entire business process has been outsourced to an external provider. Most companies like Coca-Cola and Pepsi do not have their own bottling plants. They have outsourced their bottling units to external providers, and these external providers in turn produce those drinks, and they are the ones responsible to handing it over to the customer, the end user. C. A process or part of the process is provided by an external provider as a result of a decision by the organization. Condition 3. When you have outsourced some part of your business process to an external provider. If your quality management system fulfills any of these three conditions, the organization will be required to apply criteria for evaluation, selection, monitoring of performance, and re-evaluation of such external providers. And such criteria will be based on the ability of the external provider to provide processes or product or service in accordance with the requirement. You must realize that each time you are outsourcing some part of your business process to an external vendor, that the responsibility of providing the customer is still with the company itself. So you will have to have stringent controls. And first part of the control, as mentioned in clause number 8.4.1, is that you will have to apply criteria for four things: evaluation, selection, monitoring, and re-evaluation of these external providers. Clause 8.4.2, type and extent of controls. The organization shall ensure that externally provided processes, products, and services do not adversely affect the organization's ability to consistently deliver conforming product and service to its customer. The organization shall A. Ensure that externally provided processes remain within the control of its quality management system. B. Define both the controls that it intends to apply to an external provider and those it intends to apply to the resulting output. C. Taking into consideration 1. The potential impact of the externally provided processes, products, and services on the organization's ability to consistently meet customer and applicable statutory and regulatory requirement. 2. The effectiveness of the controls applied by the external provider. D. Determine the verification and other activities necessary to ensure that the externally provided processes, product, and service meet requirements. So continuing with the clause number 8.4, the subclause 8.4.2 is now telling us exactly what are the type and extent of controls that we need to exhibit for all external providers involved in our quality management system. A is saying that we must include the externally provided processes within the control of the quality management system. Two, it is saying that we must apply two kinds of controls. One, what are the controls we are exhibiting on external provider? Two, what are the controls we intend to apply to the resulting output? C, take into consideration the potential impact of the external provided processes, products, and services on the organization's ability to consistently meet customer and applicable statutory and regulatory requirement. You must realize that you are exhibiting control for your vendors. The controls must be in keeping with the possible impact that the externally provided process, product, or service could have on the organization's ability to be able to deliver as per customer requirement and the applicable statutory and regulatory requirement. Two, two, the effectiveness of controls applied by the external provider. So whatever controls that have been exhibited by the external provider must also be taken into account. D, determine the verification and other activities necessary to ensure that externally provided processes, products, and services meet requirement. So the organization is required to determine whatever verification, validation processes or any other activities that it feels necessary to ensure that these externally provided products and services meet the requirement as laid down. So 8.2 is mentioning to you the type and extent of control. Depending on the impact of this externally provided product or service, you must exhibit controls. The controls have to be two kind. One, control as applicable to the external provider. Second, controls that need to be applied to the resulting output. 8.4.3, information on external providers. The organization shall ensure the adequacy of requirement prior to their communication to the external provider. The organization shall communicate to the external provider its requirements for A, the processes, products, and services to be provided, B, the approval of products and services, 2, methods, processes, and equipment, 3, the release of products and services, C, competence including any required qualification of persons, D, the external provider's interaction with the company, E, control and monitoring of external providers' performance to be applied by the organization. F, verification or validation activities that the organization or its customer intends to perform at the external provider's premises. So in keeping with the 8.4.2, whatever we wanted to achieve through 8.4.2 is now mandated as a communication need for the company towards its external provider. The organization must communicate what it needs from the external provider, what are going to be the approval processes for product and services, methods, process and equipment, and release of product and service. The organization must communicate the competence or any other qualification need for people who are involved in delivery of the product or service. The organization must communicate the external provider's interaction within the organization. Quality management system is mandating that you must communicate control and monitoring of the external provider's performance to be applied by the company, and verification or validation activities that the organization or its customer intends to perform at the external provider's premises. Just in case you or your customer require to assess the external provider's premises as part of the verification or validation activities, all of this will need to be communicated to your external provider. So 8.4 is essentially targeted at vendor management. 8.4.1 lays down the basic premises of four criteria for evaluation, selection, monitoring of performance, and re-evaluation of external providers. 8.4.2 is mentioning the type and extent of controls that we need to exhibit. And 8.4.3, to be able to ensure that the type and extent of control remain relevant, the necessary information that has to be passed on to the external providers is mentioned as a part of your clause number 8.4.3. You must realize that every single line item here in this clause is extremely necessary. So please, when you are auditing or implementing, please ensure that you do not leave a single line item unattended. I hope you find this video on clause number 8.4 helpful to you. Thank you.